Friday, January 19th, market analysis, Stan Ehrlich. I believe I had some technical difficulties yesterday and was not able to publish the market analysis YouTube. But here it is for today, Friday. I start out with stock market indexes. The E-mini, typically, currently March futures contract 2024, has made new highs for the whole trend up by a very small amount. We are still there. If this is going to be a bullish breakout of the previous possible double top, then we need to maintain a closing price above the previous highs, which would be on December 29th, 48.4100. Currently 48.46 and a quarter. With today's high 48.4750. Almost exactly. Well, let me make sure I got that right. 48.41. That's right. We did make slightly higher highs, and we're above 41 at the moment at 46. Got to stay here and or more. I wouldn't think this would be quite what I was expecting if I was bullish in the last several days and frankly the last few weeks, but I know when I'm wrong, and if I have to turn bullish, I have to turn bullish. I need that close above 41 by a chunk if I can get it. Otherwise, this is very dangerous territory, because if it fails, if we start slipping, especially if we start slipping a lot, at least below 41, and maybe back down to unchanged, even lower on the day. Unlikely. Support at the moment below the market at 41. So we'll see what happens here. But there's a chance that we may flip-flop. No other comments. Spider, basically the exact same statement, except we can now tell that the spider is trading 479.98 was the previous historical high. We are at 480.07 with the high today so far 480.23, above the previous historical highs. Again, kind of stalling out a little bit. So if it does come back below the previous highs of a week ago, that's not particularly bullish. Next chart. Spider, 1 minute, climbing most of yesterday, half of yesterday, and all of today very steadily, very consistently. Frankly, does not look like it wants to stop. Next, DIA daily, very close to previous highs at resistance. If everything starts to work its way higher, probably pretty quickly, the DIA will do it on Monday or Tuesday. But again, I still see reasons to keep mentioning maybe there's some topping out happening, even though it doesn't look like it at the moment. Maybe. The Russell 2000 has no comparisons. We topped out on overbought conditions. We simply came right back down again, closed an old gap on the way up, kept on going to support, bounced once, a day or two, a few, again, and then broke it. Now we got to oversold conditions, different story. And 2 days ago, the bottom of a support area. And yesterday started to work its way higher. And finally out of the oversold conditions and slightly higher on the day at the moment. Not that big a deal. Frankly, the weakest of the four, but not bad, not down a lot, no reversals. Next. Overbought condition for the QQQ and the NASDAQ futures in a moment. Plus, I believe we have two gaps up here. Yesterday's high was 413.58. Today's low is 414.60. Yep, there's a gap of about a point. That's the 2 days in a row. This is how, in overbought conditions, the first time today, right now, we end up with some kind of a violent top, a V-top. Sorry, I have to say that. I know, doesn't necessarily look right at the moment. And I can accept another day or two up, and it could be very sharp, but I wouldn't recommend buying at this point. I am looking for sell signals next. Now, March futures, almost the same comment. No gaps because it trades obviously a lot longer hours than the QQQ. Let's go to futures. Bonds, we'll get to in a second, and notes. They're going to be important. Well, this is the S&P 500 continuation contract, ES, and it is also, like you would expect, in new high ground completely. Well, same thing for the NASDAQ futures, but overbought. And what about the bonds? Well, can I expect a rally to help the stock market indexes go up more? Actually, yes. We came down today extremely close to a support area, and it's the second day in a row of being oversold. And after a new low for the move down several days in a row, we are now slightly higher on the day by a few ticks, but it's not down a lot like the last several days. It's trying to turn around, I think. Next, 10-year notes. Almost the exact same commentary, not quite as strong as quickly, and not quite oversold. It took only 10 hundredths more ticks, a tenth of a point, in order to get into my oversold condition, and missed it by a hair. Too bad. We've got support. It's not quite higher in the day yet, but I have to say the same thing I said about bonds. It looks like it could turn back up next. And I am bullish long term. I've said that all along for a very long period of time in interest rate futures, period. And we buy signals on the smack dab bottom, October 23rd, and both the 10-year notes are looking at, and the bond market was the exact low day. So on a longer term basis, we picked the bottom. Now, crude, not much to say. Sideways, pennant formation, next. Natural gas. I did get a sell signal yesterday. I saw it at the time that I was making my YouTube, which I think failed, unfortunately, but I did. And we do not have an ER3 because there was not enough rally, but I have 2 more days maybe, but we're diving south quickly. So the ER1 new short, which was around 2.7, closed with a profit yesterday and is making a lot more today. Looking great. I am expecting to see it test the lows of the trend, which is 20 or 2.18-ish. Next, heating oil. Sideways, uneventful, no commentary, at a resistance level, no signals yet. Gold, almost the same comments, in a historically important resistance area, which was broken lately twice. But here we are again testing the bottom of it. So resistance turns into support. And then if you're above it, it turns into support. And if you're below it, it turns into resistance, et cetera, et cetera. So we're hanging in there. It's sideways. I got nothing to say. No signals, not close to anything. Goodbye. Silver. Minor new lows for a couple of months. No follow through the downside. Closing prices are right around the bottom of the support area. Looks like this could bounce, and it's just not starting yet. If it makes a new low, especially on a closing basis below yesterday's lows, then I think it's going to drop off all the way to this bottom at 21.2. But for the moment, you got a little bit of an iffy situation here. I'm not sure whether it's going to turn back up or not, but I would consider selling short on new low closes. Next, platinum. Got a little bit below my support and oversold conditions, bounced yesterday very, very nicely. We got a little retracement today, so here comes the proof. Did it bottom out 2 days ago or not? It's done it in that price range a couple times before since last fall, with one of them being an ER buy signal perfectly. Now, I didn't get a signal in the last few days. Well, I still could. And I think it's trying to bottom out and turn back up. Oversold conditions, generally speaking, support area, historical evidence, next chart. High-grade copper. Bounced off of support almost exactly. Rallying today, second day. Starting to make new highs for a few days. I haven't got a lot to go on, but this area support's darn good going back to last May. So I'm friendly a little bit short term, maybe test a bear trend line. What do you want? 3.9 upside objective. Soybeans have had a little bounce today, really not doing very much. I'm going to turn that off for the moment. We did get, I believe it was a false signal, and I am covering that up except for the green and yellow. So I don't have a signal, and it tested support yesterday, closed higher, and there's very little follow through today. It's a very ambiguous day. It's trying to bottom out as the best I can say, and that's beans, oil, bean oil, heading south. Not, well, close to oversold, not quite. I think it could break into new low ground and break hard for a day or two, then get very oversold and finally bounce again. I really don't have much to go on. This is a very mild area of support here for the last few weeks. That's about it, and that really doesn't cut much. Oversold a couple days ago. Next, meal. Yeah, it's the same darn thing. It's between a rock and a hard spot. You're bouncing off a long-term bull trend line, but you're relatively oversold. So there's a decent chance it could bounce some, but it doesn't look like it's trying very hard. I don't know, no comment. Next, corn. And we got oversold conditions for a few days. Now, yesterday, we had a lower low and a higher close. And today we have a little upside follow through. Not a surprise, still oversold. And when I say that, I mean the low of the day on the price generated a oversold level at that moment. And it's not based on the close, the high, the middle, the average, whatever. How high or how low did it get? Was it oversold or overbought at the time? So I have to be a little friendly. Obviously, the trend is down big time. This does not necessarily look like exhaustion weakness, although the parabolic went down harder at the end. But the resistance levels are profound, mildly rally, mildly bear, a bullish short term, next few couple of weeks, and then sideways to lower. Next, wheat, basically the same thing. There's so much resistance above this market. If you're going to build a bottom, you probably are going to need months and months to do it. And we do have 3 or 4, but I can't pin my hat on anything at the moment that looks great. I do see these lows and then that lower low and then this low here. So that could develop into something. It would be a couple, 3 weeks before I start talking severely about it. Next, cattle. Overbought, may have stopped the rally, and it's kind of no man's land. I don't see anything really great. Not too bad in here, and a low over here. And that's at yesterday's high. Okay, a little bit of resistance. It could dip a little more, but the short-term trend is up. I like it short-term. I really think it could get up higher, quicker here in the next couple of weeks to 182. But I can't discount because of the current overbought, a minor little dippy, and then back up. Next, hogs. Doji inside day, not doing anything, but it's stopping like it has in the last several weeks at around the same price levels, resistance, and the trend is definitely down long-term, pretty much short-term, definitely. And I got to say intermediate also. So what can I say? Test of 71 coming up soon, I think, and probably down to 65 and maybe even lower next. We've got, come on. OJ. Now this has been okay. Oh, I didn't do that, did I? So the first shoulder high is a bearish engulfing. We caught it. Of course, you don't know it's a shoulder high at the time. All you got is a sell signal on overbought conditions, whoopee, and it worked great. Then we had the higher high, which is the head of this formation, maybe, but that's still too early to try to talk about a head and shoulder. But it worked great. The sell signal went down quite a bit, and then we bottomed out a little on December 6th. Now, there were 1, 2, 3, 4 days up in a rally that I had pegged for the next day to be a high, but a little higher than the previous day's high. So I came close to the date and price, a little shy on the price and 1 day too soon, but it turned around with a bearish engulfing. No surprise. Dropped a little, came back, couldn't do anything, and then started breaking below what would be the neckline. I don't know why I don't have it drawn here. Sorry about that. And it's going to be the lowest low after the first shoulder and the lowest low between the head and the last shoulder high. And there's it. There it is. So once it broke it solidly, it just collapsed. We had a bullish engulfing at a low for a few days. The market did get a little bit below my bullish engulfing, but it reached more accurately its minimum downside objective damn close. The low of the whole trend so far is 289 3/4. I was looking for, let's call it 287.80. So we're about 2 points. Very, very close. I'm real happy with that. Oversold conditions, now 2 days up, and maybe a new high closing price since my bullish engulfing green. I think it's bottoming out. Objective basically fulfilled. One bullish engulfing buy signal involved in the bottom. And I keep telling you, these signals are sometimes, as you can see on this chart, the highest high or, again, lowest low. Don't have any on this chart at the moment, for significant size moves, if not huge moves. And when they don't work, I'm out pretty darn quickly, and it doesn't hurt too bad. But when I'm right, they're sometimes part of the bottom or top formations, if not the highest high or lowest low. But we'll see about this one. It looks like it might be part of. Next, cocoa. At that resistance line I talked about for the last several days, bumped into it, pulling back very slightly, overbought conditions of some significance, 83 it looks like at the moment, and that's pretty darn high. I think it's topping out now, today, around these prices. Risk small, a stop above today's high. Downside objective, potentially minimum of 43.31. Maybe down to 4,070-ish. Next, coffee. Not much to say. Resistance seems to be stopping it. Top formation might be building. We'll talk about it later. Next, sugar did get to my resistance area today, and it got overbought at the same damn time. It's starting to pull out below the resistance level beginning, and I think that's it. What can I say? Today's high could very well be the high of this rally, and I'm not going to be surprised if it pulls back down to, say, 22. Now, that's not too far away, so I got to include the possible test of 2012. This is a longer-term bull trend. It did have a very broad double top that worked very, very well, and even the objectives on that were way surpassed. And these lows are new lows since last April. Lower. Next, cotton the rag. Overbought conditions between the hard spot, or maybe that's the rock, and vice versa. So I think it's about to top out. It might pop up to that resistance area first, but we're already overbought. That means danger. Don't go buying. Look for sell signals, etc. Next, E-mini is not stopping. We are up a very, very significant 4.4 at the moment on the spider. The E-mini is up 40-ish. Now we're up 6 points on the Qs, and the DIA is almost up 3. Well, it's making new highs. It's staying there so far, and it's not dropping back. I might have to flip-flop to being bullish. Sorry about the bearish situation for a couple of 3 weeks. You have a great trading day. Mañana.